So we're looking at this house. It's listed at $660,000, and I'm going to be talking about what it would look like to get a quote and to see if you can qualify for this house when you make around $110,000. See what your options are. So we'll click through some photos of the house real quick so you can see what we're looking at. It's built in 1954, single family, 2 beds, 1 bath. Some kind of fun updates here. Definitely a lot of work done on it recently. Small yard, neat looking little front yard. And if you don't know, Falls City is just south of Carnation, south of Duval, east of Sammamish there. So I want to look at 2 different quotes for this depending on how much cash you're able to bring in. I'm going to look at one where you have around $80,000 cash all in, and one where you have around $150,000 cash all in. And we'll see how that cash amount impacts the monthly payment, what monthly payment results from the cash. And then we'll talk about what qualifying would look, what income it would take to qualify for each of these. So I talked about seeing what it would be like to buy this house if you make around $100,000 or $110,000 a year. And we'll see where these numbers come in for that. All right, so here are the 2 quotes. On the left is the $150,000 scenario where we're going 20% down, and on the right is the $80,000 scenario where we're going 10% down. So looking at the numbers, you can see pretty quickly in the 20% down scenario, your total monthly payment is going to be $4,055. Each month, and then 10% down is going to be $45.98. And so pretty quickly you start to get a sense of, at least as far as your comfort range, you should probably have a sense coming in of what your comfort range is in terms of your monthly payment, what would work with your budget. But I'm also going to talk specifically about how qualifying works, whether a lender would approve you for each of these. Depending on your income. So we're looking at, let's look at just the different pricing components, and then I'll talk about what it would look like to qualify. So if you're able to bring that $150,000 all in and get to 20% down, the rate we ended up with in this scenario is 7%. And in both of these, I'm assuming you are a first-time home buyer, which can sometimes improve your pricing. It gets you access to a little bit better pricing sometimes. So both of these, I'm assuming you are a first-time home buyer, and both of these are qualifying you for affordable loan products, which are products that are made available to people in a certain box, to people who qualify with certain characteristics. And one of those is that your income is no greater than a certain amount. And for these programs, I'm using what's called the Borrow Smart program, which allows you to qualify for it as long as your income is no greater than 80% of the area median income. And in this area, in this county, area median income is pretty high. I can't remember the exact, I think it's 137 is the area median income. So in this case, if you make 110, you're still below 80% of that, so we're good there. So real quick, what's common to both is that taxes and insurance are the same on both, because that's dependent on the house. It's not dependent on the loan program. But then you see there's only three components of your monthly payment here. There's a fourth here, and that is mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance of $104 a month. And mortgage insurance is a fee you have to pay if you put less than 20% down. And the reason for that is because if you put less than 20% down, you're a greater risk to the lender of default, so they need to protect themselves. And so they require you to put mortgage insurance down. So you don't have to pay that in that 20% scenario, and so that's part of the difference there. Sometimes you'll hear on mortgage insurance, sometimes you'll hear never pay less than 20% down, never get a loan if you have to have mortgage insurance. And one thing just to keep in mind there is, of course, it's worth considering the impact of mortgage insurance of $100 a month, sometimes $200 a month. But it's just important to quantify that and compare it to your alternatives. If you're refusing to buy a house and get a mortgage because you have to pay $100 a month or $200 a month, and instead you're resolving to continue to rent because you have to, and renting means paying $2,000 a month, then it's just important to compare those things. And sure, mortgage insurance you'll never get back, but if it's $200 a month you'll never get back versus $2,000 a month you'll never get back in rent, it makes that comparison a little bit more. It makes it easier to consider the two alternatives there. Okay, so the last component is principal and interest. And the interest rate is the same on both of these at 7% on both of these. So the reason these are different is just because you have a different loan amount. You have an 80% loan to value in the 20% down. You have a smaller loan amount than the 10% down. And so real quick, let's look at this points and credit section, which is important to see on your mortgage quote. Points and credit, you can see around $400 of points and credit in both these scenarios, which in terms of points and credit is basically equivalent to zero. This could be thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and that's where it starts to make an impact on your interest rate. That's just a fee. Points are a fee you can pay to get a lower interest rate. Credit is the reverse of that. It's a credit towards your closing costs that the lender will give you to take a higher interest rate. And so these are both basically zero, and so that we end up with a 7% rate in both. And then other closing costs, $10,000 about in both, maybe $11,000. That's a pretty good estimate as far as this price point in our area, as far as what to expect. Around $10,000, $11,000 if you don't have anything else going on with the loan. If you have points, if you have significant points coming in, if there are significant lender fees, things like that, then that can impact your closing costs. But that's a pretty good rough estimate, at least as far as what we see for other closing costs. And so you can see that results in a total cash to close of $143,589 in the 20% down scenario, and $77,697 in the 10% down scenario. So in terms of qualifying, we talked about what it would look like. We said we'd talk about what it would look like to buy this house if you make around $110,000. Can you qualify for these loans if you make $110,000? Will the lender give you these loans? Pretty quickly, you can see it would be tough to take on this payment if that's your total take-home income for your household. It would be pretty tough to take on, because $110,000, let's say $110,000 is $9,100 a month, which is basically right on twice this larger monthly payment. So pretty quickly you can see it would be tough if that's what you're making to take on this monthly payment over here, the 10% down. So if that's really what you're making, then generally for this price point, you're probably going to have to get closer to 20% down to get the loan amount down so that you can take on this monthly payment here. The $4,055, that would be a little bit more manageable. In terms of qualifying, the way that lenders figure out whether you can qualify for a loan is that your total monthly debts need to be divided by your gross monthly income. They take that number, which is called your debt to income ratio, and that number needs to be less than 50%. So if that number is less than 50%, generally the lender will give you the loan. So even if you're making the top number 110% there, you're not really going to qualify for this larger down payment. However, you would be able to qualify for the $4,055 there, because that number is going to be less than 50% for both scenarios, whether you're at $110,000, $100,000. That number is going to be below 50%, but it's going to be tight. So it's going to be something you have to keep an eye on, and your lender might be able to come up with strategies to help you use that cash a little bit differently to end up with a lower monthly payment. So it's going to be tight, but technically you would be able to qualify for it. So that's helpful to know. But as far as budgeting, that's something you'll have to be aware of. You'll have to keep in mind and make a decision for yourself. If you are interested in seeing what it would be like if you want a quote on a house you're looking at, or if you're interested in seeing what it would be like to work with our team, feel free to reach out to us, or feel free to watch a video. There's a video linked in the description in this video that will show you what it's like to work with our team, show you what our process is like. If you like that, if you like the idea of it, if it looks like a good fit, you can reach out. Send us a text, call, phone call. You can even schedule a call on our website or at the link. There's another link in the description here. So go ahead and do that. We'd love to hear from you. We do loans in Washington and Idaho. That's where we're licensed, and we'd love to work with you if that's valuable for you.